Thank you for tuning in to the BizNation podcast. My name is Kerry Zarb, and I've been helping business owners just like you go from headache to heaven in a heartbeat for over 20 years. I'll be giving you all the top advice for getting started in your business, but I'll also be speaking with some of the best business minds to inspire you with valuable insights to help you get ahead in your business. If you've ever hit a roadblock or lost your passion, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the podcast and thank you for joining me today. I'm Kerry and this is episode 51. Today we have joining us the wonderful Jay Mannings from Johannesburg in South Africa. Jay's business is called Vivid with Jay, which is all about business mentoring and coaching for coaches. Jay has been an entrepreneur for 23 years and has 14 years experience as a mentor and coach. I want to hear all about Jay and her journey, so welcome to the show, Jay.
Thanks, Kerry, and thanks for having me.
Great to have you here, and thank you so much for giving me your time. And I really want to unpack your journey and just go through it together. So tell us about you. Let's go back. Let's go through your journey together and how this all started.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it probably started back in 1996, to be fair. I come from a very long line of employees, and my father was a banker. And I was given three choices. I could study finance, or if I felt particularly creative, I could study finance. So I did. I took a business degree in finance, and I think his dream was, become the accountant. Really was the dream. I, however, had different aspirations. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a business owner. But I had no mentors. I had no terms of reference for anyone who owned a business. Everyone in my entire life worked a 9 to 5, hated every minute of it. And always been a bit of an adrenaline junkie, up for anything, not risk averse. I went and my general philosophy to life is go big or go home, right? So I opened up a business, opened a design and decor business. I took showroom space in a large shopping mall, the income, but in sort of large capital outlay. And it took me less time to sink that business than it took me to get my first business degree.
Wow.
And when I look back on it now, I realize that business, I could have turned it around, but I simply did not have the tools, the know-how, the experience. There was nothing. And everyone I knew, of course, said, shut it down, go back and get a job. Like, just go back and get a job. Just don't do this. It's too risky. It's crazy. And there was a lot of shame attached to it. I didn't have the support. I had no emotional support. I lost my home. I lost my relationship. I lost back in 1996, it was over $50,000 in 1996. That's huge.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to recover. And I think I did that by, I always say I retreated into, I went and hid out in a cubicle for a couple of years. Not that there's much place to hide in a cubicle, but eventually I got to the point where I checked my pulse and was very, very relieved to find that the entrepreneurial heartbeat was still there. And I slowly but surely started building my next business. Did this a lot more conservatively. I went with the side hustle thing. I wasn't quite willing to throw in everything and the sink at it. And it grew. In fact, that business today is my event and design agency, which has done phenomenally well for itself over the years. And it's been a good 20 years now. I then decided to launch an e-com business, which was very innovative at the time, very cutting edge. And it was fun. It was a really fun project. And I eventually scaled that business and sold it. However, I became very tapped into the local entrepreneurial community in Cape Town in South Africa. And when I looked at it, I was pretty shocked to find that the failure rate for new businesses within the first 2 years had not changed much in more than 5 decades, despite unprecedented available to entrepreneurs today. And that raised a big question for me. And in truth, I think it lies in the truth of the matter is that information isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if all we needed was more information, we'd all be millionaires and we'd all have six packs, right? It's not the information part that's missing. It's the implementation. It's the fact that we make fear-based choices, or we get stuck in a pattern of analysis paralysis, or a pattern of procrastination, or a pattern of overwhelmed, where we don't take the appropriate action at the right time or in the right way. And I learned from our own experience with hiring coaches and mentors that in fact was the missing piece. And so I became a very loud proponent of mentorship and coaching. I didn't certify as a coach at that time. I got very involved with mentoring innovative startup entrepreneurs. And a few years back, I went and got my certification as a coach, more because I was concerned about what I didn't know. I always say, you don't know what you don't know. And so I wanted to make sure that I was as valuable to my clients as I could possibly be, was the real onus. And then on January the 3rd, 2020, after I had so it's crazy. On the 2nd of January, 2020, I had a very deep meditation. So if any of you meditate, you'll know that there are some moments where you meditate, where you get so deep into that meditation that even though you cognitively are ready to come out of it, it's like your body is frozen, like it just won't move. You just end up in this incredibly deep meditation. It was one of those. Then she got up, went to sleep, and about 3 a.m. in the morning, I sat bolt upright in bed. And I literally, like out into the blackness, I was like, I have to help life coaches. And my wife was like, what? And I was like, never mind, go to sleep, go back to bed. And I ran to my office, and that's where I sat for the next 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Really getting my head around what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And it started an entirely new journey. What I quickly learned about coaches was that they are not your hard-nosed business person. They intend to make an impact in the world, and then they find themselves an accidental entrepreneur as a result, because they now are forced to build a business around it in order to sustain it and to make greater impact. So my drive has become very much focused on moving them and from the space of accidental entrepreneur to intentional coachpreneur. Mm-hmm. I'm not the coach that's going to, that is promising them, multi-seven figures in the first 6 months. I'm the coach that helps them build a business that supports them getting their first client, and then a repeatable process thereafter. So it's the unsexy bit of business building that comes before hitting Instagram in your bikini to tell the world how amazing you are. Yeah. So it's processes, it's strategy, it's systems, it's clarity before the visibility part.
I love that. I think that's amazing. Yeah. And I think it's so needed as well, because it's amazing how many business owners have coaches. But then when you're a coach yourself, you may not even realize that it's a good idea to have a coach and someone in your corner, someone guiding you and assisting you. So do you find that people are actually a little bit like, well, I'm a coach, I don't need a coach?
Yeah, so I've always got a coach. I'm never without a coach in different areas. I have a coach for, she's worked with me for the last 2 or 3 years in my agency. Because the reality is the person you need to be at every level of your business changes. Who I needed to be as an entrepreneur when I was a 4-figure business owner is very different to at the advent of COVID. We were just touching, we were about to hit the consistent. When I say I'm anything, there has to be at least 3 months of consistency. So we were just at the tipping of actually going into 8 figures. I had to become a very different entrepreneur at every stage of the way. So are there, because you never reach a point where you've achieved it all, where the growth, stops, or it shouldn't. I mean, that's crazy. No one ever puts down a book and goes, well, now I know it all. No. There's no work to be done, right? Because no matter how far we get, when we get there, we want more. We want better. We want more streamlined. We want more ease. We want more challenge. We want more. The more never stops. And A coach is a phenomenal way to make sure that you are always at the top of your game. Yes, I have heard coaches. In fact, I've been in groups where people have said, I know I'm a coach, but I'm just going to get a coach this once. Like there's almost like shame around a coach having a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, therapists have therapists. Lawyers need lawyers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Plumbers need plumbers because plumbers are out cleaning everyone else's, pipes, and their wives are complaining that no one's cleaning the ones at home. So even plumbers hire plumbers.
Yeah.
The reality is there's no shame. And in fact, if you wouldn't employ someone in your industry, why are you in the industry?
True. I like
If you
that.
wouldn't back the industry, you shouldn't be in it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I never thought of it like that, but it's so true. It is so true. And you're right. The mechanic often doesn't work on his own car, doesn't have time to. He's too busy working on everybody else's car. Most of the time in a mechanic shop, it's actually some of the employees that are working on the boss's car because he hasn't got time to do it. He's too busy, But you're right. Lawyers do need lawyers and all of these different industries in the world. It's so true. So really, mentoring and coaching coaches is not weird at all, really. It actually makes perfect sense to me because I think we all need guidance and assistance, and we all need, that supporter and that mentor in our life so that we can continue to move forward, grow and develop. And sometimes, that might turn into a little bit of hard love and a little bit of a reality check and someone to actually tell us, well, actually, look at what you're doing and, think about where you're going. So I think it's great.
Yeah, but the reality is when you're in your business, you're in your business. And you can get sucked into always being in your business.
Yeah.
Now, I work with large blue chip corporate clients. They're demanding. They require me to be in my business. My coaches have always kept me accountable for stepping back, taking a look at the bigger picture, and devising a strategy around what it is we're executing on and how we're growing and developing versus just being stuck on the hamster wheel of producing.
Yes.
It's an easy trap to fall into, and that probably has been where I've always said my coach is my secret weapon. My coach is what keeps my business growing because I don't always have my eye on the growth ball. Yes. I've got my eye on the production ball, and those are two very different balls.
Yeah. You're listening to the BizNation podcast. I would love to connect with you outside of the podcast, and you can find me on Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook or LinkedIn by searching my name, Kerry Zarb, or directly on my website at kerryzarb.club. And don't forget, if you need more support in your business, you can find the community on Facebook at BizNation Support Group. And Jay, have you noticed a difference, a shift in this since COVID? Because I personally know that I used to always work in my business, not on my business. So did you see a shift through the changes that came through with COVID?
I think so. And I think the reason is twofold, is that we all only have 24 hours in the day. And a lot of that, I speak as a woman, some of that day was spent putting on mascara and lipstick and doing my hair and then getting in a car and spending 45 minutes driving somewhere. So living life the way we were prior COVID, we were losing easily 3 to 4 hours of productive time in our day that we won back.
Yeah.
With COVID, with now being remote in teams. Of course, that has its challenges, but by and large, we actually gained hours in our day, which gave us more time to work on the business. Mm-hmm. Also, business slowed down globally, unless you were in health and safety or in some COVID-related industry, everything slowed down. And what happened was, I think a lot of people either decided that they needed to pivot, or that they now finally had chance to work on their business, or they had to shake things up a little in their business. And so they did. It was a case of the world stopped. We had a pause. You got off the hamster wheel. When you get off the hamster wheel, you can take a look. And so, yes, I do. I think there's been an immense amount of work on businesses, re-strategizing, because of the fact that business has slowed down, you can't afford to throw money. You've got smarter with how you spend. You've got smarter with your teams. People have had to downscale, which means they've had to improve the efficiencies within their business. So yes, I think there's been a huge move towards a luxury, almost a luxury to stop long enough to work on your business.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's so evident in the world at the moment, as well as the fact that, a lot of business owners, they're still finding their feet on the back of COVID. I think that's, a lot of people have pivoted. It's, like was the buzzword for 2020. But at the same time, some people are still working it out. Some people have, gone into this year cycle of, moving their business, shifting their focus, working out what they want to do and what they want to bring and the value that they want to offer. So what is your advice to someone that might still be a little bit lost on the back of COVID?
That answer is going to depend very much on their situation. So the reality is, 2 years ago, it would have been a lot easier for me to go, oh, well, this is the way forward. But the reality is we are in an uncertain time in the world. We're starting to see things even out. But in truth, there's a great deal of hesitation because people don't entirely know. Is there going to be a next wave? Is there going to be another lockdown? Which industries are going to be hit again and again and again? It's a very precarious place to be because you don't entirely know what it is you're planning for.
Yeah.
So for instance, in South Africa, the retail industry in August is shocking. It's a terrible month in retail across the board. But that's a historic factor. So people in retail know, that they push it in April, May, June, July, and then they've got to ride out August before September kicks in. So they plan for it as part of their plan. We still don't know what we're planning for. It is still uncertain times. So my thing is that we can't rest on the laurel of, we now know that despite the belief that, entrepreneurship was so risque compared to the security of a job, we know that that's no longer true. So I think my advice would be to be open to reinventing yourself, whatever that means. That doesn't necessarily mean changing industry. It's finding ways of becoming indispensable or needed. Figure out, we've got the luxury of upskilling. We've got the luxury of relooking at how we do things. Get proactive. Take control. Don't wait for shit to happen. Because a lot of us, we wait for things to happen to us before we take action. And COVID did happen to us. It happened to the entire world. But the reality is, although it happened on a global scale to everybody, you have people who will tell you that 2020 was the worst year ever. And you will have people that will tell you it's the best year they've ever experienced in their entire life. The same set of circumstances that happened at a global level. And it's about that response. It's about that proactive response to, where's the opportunity in this? Because there is always opportunity. It's being willing to find it.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, wow, for sure. And you're so right, because I think about the finance side of business. That's one of the spaces that I revolve in. And for me, clients are like, oh, let's compare this year to last year, or even back in 2020, comparing 2020 to 2019. You just can't,
No.
when you think about your budgeting and your forecasting and where the business is growing or heading, that's just all been thrown out the window. You can't use those figures in any kind of, we're not back to normal, and we may not be back to normal for such a long time yet.
Maybe ever.
Maybe ever. That's right. I've actually questioned that myself. Are we going back to a normal? Who knows? Who knows what that looks like? No one's got the crystal ball, I think is part of the problem. But I guess, as a business owner, a lot of people could get caught up in that, and they could actually focus on that too much. What's your recommendation for those that are in that situation? And again, it's very different industry to industry. Do you have?
You know what? It's We have to take it out of the equation. It happened. It was what it was. It's not the benchmark in your business. And whilst we don't know what's going to happen next, and I do not advise that you spend any time on 10-year or 5-year or even 2-year goals, is set smaller goals. Set goals that are close. And when I say smaller, I'm talking about time frame, shorter goals. Have something to work towards within the parameters of what you can wrap your head around for the conceivable next 6 months.
Good point.
And break your year down. You know, we're so stuck in that mindset of New Year happens on January, and by December we're depleted because it's the end of a year. Just shake it up. You know, make every 6 months New Year. Have a year end at the end of every 6 months. No one said it had to be a 12-month year. I don't even work 12 months. I've never worked a 12-month year. I work 7 months of the year. So I don't have a 12-month cutoff. Well, redefine a year for yourself. Right now, we don't know what's going to happen past 6 months. So plan for 6 months. Just bring the goalposts closer and execute on something that is within your control to some level and degree.
And the other thing is as well, Jay, you're actually speaking from your own experience here, because you had a massive change when COVID came through in your business, like massive. Tell us about that. What happened? What transpired for you? Because this is the gold here. You've lived it. You've lived it.
You know, it's not. Firstly, it's the pandemic is maybe. It's my second recession that I've really, you know, had to survive with the same business. In the first instance in 2008, you know, it's the hospitality, it's the entertainment, it's the events industry. And when the global economic recession hit, marketing and events are one of the first budgets to get cut in the corporate industry. And at the time, we were very capital intensive. We had office space, we had fleets, we owned inventory. It was a lot. And so we pivoted in the traditional sense of we redefined our existing business processes and became a lean operation. And we reinvented the way in which we delivered value, and we were able to get through that swimmingly. In fact, we were one of the very few large-scale event companies that thrived through that recession. But it was our ability to pivot. Pivot is different things in different environments. Pivot could mean a complete change in direction or simply improving on something you've been doing for eons in a certain way. My coach was instrumental. Need to point that out. What was different when March happened in 2020 was there were no signs of a recession. It all happened pretty fast in the world, and there was a huge element of disbelief in terms of its ability to affect us, and we didn't know how it was going to affect us. At March 1, 2020, on the 1st of March, we had a little over $7.8 million on the books of events that were due to happen, be executed over 2020. And within 7 days, it all disappeared.
Wow.
All of it. Every single event was cancelled. We had some events that were then, some clients deferred the event to February 2021, which has come and gone, as we know. Some deferred to May 2021, which is on the brink of those events are not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we literally had multiple 6, 7, 8 figures dry up in 7 days. Like it just disappeared. It evaporated.
Wow.
It was shocking. It was unexpected, and our hands were tied. There was no space to pivot. It wasn't like we could do eventing in a different way. Globally, eventing came to a standstill. It was illegal. It's illegal. I mean, at a governmental level, you were not allowed to gather. So our ability to streamline or redefine was stripped of us, and that was a frightening place to be because you're not in control. There's no plan B here. Like there was no plan to be made. We were fortunate that we were in a cash positive situation, and we were a great deal of it. We also have the design side of our business, which has carried us through. So we have become more lean. We've had to do things like losing team members and even reducing salaries in the interests of keeping people employed.
Yeah.
And as a team, that was a decision we had to make to keep everyone, as safe as we could under the circumstances and protected. God, no one could have seen it coming, Kerry. It took us, it took the world by storm. It happened fast and furious. And the reality is we still don't know. We do not have a line in the sand in terms of when exactly it's going to return.
Definitely. And Jay, from the events industry side, what is your, and I know it's really hard, no one's got the crystal ball, but what is your prediction of face-to-face events versus virtual events for the future?
Look, the reality is the human race is always going, although we do love technology and we love the experience and the novelty of AI and all that kind of stuff, we are a social species. And there's nothing like walking into a room and going, oh my God, I haven't seen you in ages. Where's the wine? Like, people just want to be in 3D.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt we will get back to that at some point. I just can't get my head around the when. I think, right now people are nervous. You have varying degrees of, oh my God, protect yourself, to this isn't a thing, I refuse to wear a mask, and everything in between. So there are so many degrees of how safe people feel to be in the environment. Now, keeping in mind, my clients are corporate. So here's the thing for a corporate client is that they are incredibly protective of their brand. Their reluctance is still going to be hosting an event with a chance that 2 or more guests may get COVID and the association be made to, well, it was at so-and-so's event.
Yeah.
It's a negative brand connotation. And that, if in my industry, people are going to, they can't wait to get married. People are going to get married. They're going to have those family and friend events. But at a corporate level, there's a different implication. So my particular industry, I think, is going to take a little longer to wrap their heads around and embrace going back to whatever normal was.
Definitely. Yes. And that makes perfect sense, because you're right. The brand, and that's a precious space. That's a really important space. And we all see brands come into the media under a negative spotlight for different things. So that's essentially what they're looking at. They're looking at,
and they'll avoid that at all costs.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny. I just thought then for a second that what's that little phrase that people say, all news is, all advertising is good advertising, or something like that.
Oh yeah, all publicity is good. Any publicity is good publicity, which is crap.
No, it's just not. It's amazing. I can't
I wish that was true.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just certainly not the case especially around this stuff. So thank you for sharing that, and I appreciate you sharing your journey and your story and what happened to you, by the way, because that's,
unfortunately, we're not at the end of the journey. That's the problem. We're still in the throes of this never-ending journey.
Exactly. So Jay, going back to the mentoring and coaching, when someone comes to you and they're absolutely lost, completely lost, they've got no kind of, there's no end to the tunnel. There's no, where do you take them? What is the journey that you take them on?
Well, that is mostly the state in which they come to me. And purely because, and I get asked by coaches all the time, what is the one thing I need to do? What's the one thing I need to be focusing on? And I always say to them, well, you're starting a business. So you have a baby, it's in its infancy. And if I said to you, what was the one thing you did to keep your baby alive? What would you tell me?
I'll feed them.
Would it be eating, drinking, pooping, sleeping? Like, what is that one thing? There is no one thing. And especially in the online space, you've got technology, there are a lot of things that go into building a business, and they get into a. So I work them through a 4-piece model. Is that one of the biggest mistakes I see coaches making? And I understand why, because everyone tells them to. In fact, everyone tells any business to. The place you start is Let everyone know that you're open for business. Hit social media. Market the bejesus out of yourself. I take them back to the beginning. One of the very first pieces that I have to work on them is the clarity component. And this is different for coaches than any other industry. Coaching is a very tough sell because people wake up and they know when they need a lawyer, and they know when they need a plumber. Heck, they even know when they need a therapist. They even know when they need a husband. They never wake up and go, you know what I need is a coach, outside of Usain Bolt and Serena Williams. That no one wakes up and goes, you know, I'm going to go find myself a coach today. So that is the first thing, is that people don't truly even understand the value of a coach or what a coach really is. It's still a little bit undefined in most people's minds. The second problem is most coaches don't know how to articulate what they do in a way that conveys value to their would-be clients. Coaches can be, and I say this with all the love in the world, fluffy. You know, they love to talk about, you know, excavating your inner unicorn and freeing your, you know, releasing your inner superhero and living your best life and authentically and all that kind of stuff. No one's ever going to go, oh, I want to buy myself some authenticity. It just doesn't happen. And it's not really about what they're coaching on, because the coaching itself is an effective model. It's a transformative model. It's about the messaging. And the other thing is, a lot of coaches believe, you know, I'm a coach. I can help everyone on anything. And that's all good and well, but you can't market to everyone, because marketing takes resource, whether it's time or money or both. It takes time to connect with a market. So if your market is everyone, that's an immense amount of resource you need to put behind connecting with everyone. So I start right at the beginning with them around that clarity piece, around defining the messaging. We move over to the strategy around what it is they need out of their business. Like, what does this have to realistically? And based on what we develop in that space, we then go on to build the structures of, you know, traffic generation, lead generation, sales system. You know, I walk them through what it's even like to sell. A lot of them have a lot of reticence around selling. The strangest things get in the way of coaches. It's fear of success. It's fear of failure. It's fear of technology. It is, you know, a negative relationship to money, an issue with valuing, putting a price to what it is that they do, you know, that imposter syndrome kind of thing. We work through all of that. And then we develop a visibility strategy, and then we implement an accelerated visibility strategy, which versus the usual strategies, which is build your list, you know, post on Instagram, which could take you 4 years to get 200 subscribers. And you can't build a sustainable business on that. You know, so we work the numbers in terms of what the numbers are that we need to get to where they need to be. And it's different for every coach. And then we devise the strategy to go and make those numbers happen pronto.
Yeah, very cool. Yep. Jay, I've got another question for you. How do we know, not so much how do we know when we want to look for a business coach, if we are a coach and we want to look for a coach for us, how do we know if it's the right relationship? How do we find these people, but, you know, when do we know that we've found the right person?
It's an interesting question, and it's particularly tough for coaches. An entrepreneur, a hard-nosed entrepreneur, is a great deal more exacting on their business coach, because they know exactly where they want to go. They know exactly what their outcomes. There is no vagueness in their mind about where they're wanting, you know, what it is they're wanting to do. So the questions they ask are incredibly deliberate, incredibly, you know, they're constructed to get the answers they need. The problem coaches face is that there are a great many coaches out there, you know, a lot of them hide behind, and I'm talking about business coaches, they hide behind their content. And so they, on the surface, they seem like they know what they're talking about because it's such great content. But when you scratch a little deeper, you find that they're only experience of business is that they once had a business coach, or they took a business coach course,
Mm-hmm.
Or they are giving you, all they've done is they've studied Instagram marketing or video lives or whatever the case may be, and they're giving you one piece of the pie. Generally, what I say is, firstly, look for congruency, irrespective of whether it's a business coach or otherwise. Does your coach, irrespective of what they're coaching, whether it's dating, relationships, business, or otherwise, do they have in their life, in that area, what you aspire to?
Mm.
If they don't, walk away. Because if they can't create that for themselves, they absolutely cannot help you create it. They do not have the tools. So congruency is a massive, massive part of it. Spend time with them. Have a coaching session or two with them and look around. Get smart. Figure out what the questions are that you need to ask. Ask a business coach what questions they should be asking.
Mm-hmm.
Let them tell you what's important. It's one of the things that I find is lacking with coaches, is that they don't help the people that are hiring them to know what they should be looking for. And you shouldn't be holding that back. You should, I think open cards is important in the coaching industry. So there's that. The second thing is, this is a big one, is a coach going to coach you in terms of their agenda? Do they have what they believe to be the only way that you're going to achieve this? If that's the case, run.
Run.
Run. It's not a coach's business to tell you the one way, because there is no one way. There are 1,000 strategies to grow your business, and every strategy works. They just don't work for every person you work for. They don't work in the same way. Because who you are as an entrepreneur or as a human being, in terms of your personality type, your ability to market yourself in a certain way, your resources, in terms of, if you don't have 6 hours every day to put into your business, you cannot be given a strategy that's going to require you to put 6 hours into your business to get what you need out of it.
Yeah.
The strategy has to fit you, and not you fitting your coach's strategy. Otherwise, you just go buy yourself a course and work through it at your own time, at your own leisure. And that is one of the, it's not about what I think you should do. It's, what do you want? So take, for instance, a sporting coach. Sporting coach is going to say to you, what do you want? You're going to say, I want to get to the World Cup. Well, show me what you've got. Cool. Now I know what to work with. Now we can devise a strategy to help you get to where you're wanting to go. Not come to me and I will make you do this and we will get to the World Cup, because there's no guarantee of the World Cup. There is no guarantee. And a lot of people will say to you, ask your coach for guarantees. And that's bull. That's absolute hog. Your lawyer, and I refer to the lawyer and the plumber because I'm using professions, other industries and professions as a case in point. A lawyer cannot guarantee you're going to win your case.
Yep.
A doctor who's performed open heart surgery on 800 patients before cannot guarantee the exact same outcome for you. The only way I could guarantee the outcome is if I controlled all the variables and I did the work for you.
Exactly. Yes.
You have a responsibility in that, like a sporting coach. Serena isn't phenomenal at tennis because she's got a coach. She's phenomenal because she shows up every day. She takes coaching. She's coachable, and she implements it in a way that works for her.
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce. It's not the coach that makes her successful. It's her part in that partnership. So a lot of people get hooked up on this. Ask for guarantees. If a coach gives you a guarantee, run. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Or they're just outrightly lying, one or the two.
Yeah.
So you have to understand your responsibility in the relationship, ask your for, and look for congruency.
That makes perfect sense to me, because you're right. It's not a one size fits all. It's got to be that individual approach. But at the end of the day, as a coach or a mentor or any of those particular areas, someone still has to do the work. Like that's a massive aspect of it. And I think you're right. If we just went online and we purchased a course, we've still got to take action. We've still got to actually take the steps that we're guided to be doing. But it needs to be tailored. It needs to be individualized. It needs to be a working relationship. And I guess
Yeah,
that's what happens. You
it
form a
very much is.
relationship. Yeah. And yeah, two-way street. You've got to work together with your coach, take the guidance and assistance that they're giving you, but you're the one taking the action. So
Here's the thing, is in your business, you have to accept that you are the CEO. Your coach is an advisor in your business, someone that can help you, see beyond your blind spots or whatever the case may be, push you a little further than you thought you could go. But you have to remain in control of that relationship. And a lot of people almost abdicate their power to a coach with the expectation that it's going to be amazing. The result's going to be phenomenal. It's just not how it works. Hiring a personal trainer is not enough to lose the weight.
No.
and it's exactly the same thing. It does. There is, if I could find a business model where I could just hire someone and then sit back and watch Netflix and I would see the results, I would have done it by now. And if you find it, let me know. I'm up for it. Like if you can find a business model that works, I'm up for it. In 20 plus years as an entrepreneur, I have not yet found that.
Yeah.
I've not found the way of doing that. There's never a year that I could say to you has gone past where, the business is just, I'm not entirely sure how it just grew. It's not like that. It takes intentional, consistent showing up. There's a lot of fun stuff, but there's a lot of grueling, there's a shit sandwich that goes with everything.
Yeah, definitely.
There's the fun stuff and there's the not such fun stuff. But you own business. You cannot sit in an employee mindset going, well, just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It will fail you. You will fail yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Jay, that's all amazing stuff. Thank you so much. And I think that little bit of insight and understanding that we still need to do the work. It's our business. Yes, we can be guided and assisted, and hopefully for anyone out there listening, they find that right person to work with. But before I wrap up the show, where do we find you?
vividwithj.com and on all the social platforms at vividwithj in all the places.
Oh, really easy. Lovely.
It's that easy.
Hey, I love that.
I love simplification. That's my big thing is I hate overcomplicating anything. Like simplification is key.
It is. Thank you so much. I will be popping all of those links. And when I say all of those links, obviously the website. Yep. Into the show notes for the listeners. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. No worries. And we will chat really soon. Thank you.
I look forward to it. Thanks, Kerry.
Thank you for tuning in to the BizNation podcast. It was lovely to share this episode with you. Remember to subscribe to catch all future episodes, and I'd also very much love it if you'd leave me a rating or a review. Until next time, remember that you can also go from headache to heaven in a heartbeat.